I don't do readings because I can't do the accents in my own book. I can do Peter's, but I can't do anyone else's. And my Scottish accent is so bad, I don't dare go near Dr. Wally. And my African accents are just as dire. So I leave that to Cobner, who was in fact hired because he could do all of those accents. It was like, how many accents can you do? 75. Good, you're hired. And I don't know if any of you listen to the audiobooks. Who listens to the audiobooks? They're narrated by a lovely man called Cobner Holbrook Smith, who's getting very grand and quite expensive now. He's coming back from Los Angeles. We're going to lose him. I know we are. It's Dad. And he can do lots of accents, and I like to phone him up and say, what accents can't you do? And he says, Belfast. So I put a Belfast character. Last book. If you're wondering, for those of you that's read Foxglove Summer, why Herefordshire has a randomly Belfast forensics officer in their staff, that's why. I wasn't cruel, I only gave him 3 lines. So that's why I don't do the readings. I don't do a spiel. I once did one in Newport. I've never been back to Newport since. I mean, many people say Newport, you shouldn't go back. But I did Newport, and I went so badly that I was traumatized. So what I do is, in fact, a long extended Q&A session whereby you ask me questions and I answer them. Don't panic. I can make one question last 20 minutes if I have to, as long as it's a good question. On the other hand, and it has several advantages and several disadvantages. The principal advantage is, of course, at least one person will be interested in what I'm talking about, which is more than said if you do a set speech, you're looking at the audience and going, why are we here again? I don't know. And the principal disadvantage is that if you don't ask me questions, we're all going to look a bit silly. Looking at each other like this. So, on to the first question. Has anyone got a question? Gentleman at the back.
Yeah, I'll start with this. With your name as Aaronovitch, do you have any Russian or Eastern European?
Well, yes.
Where particularly is that name?
I would love to say that my brother took my father took it as a nom de plume or something exotic like that because he was from Barnsley. But no, his parents were from Lithuania in the 1900s. They were pogromed back in the old days of the Russian Empire. They were pogromed out of Lithuania in about 1900. They headed from New York, got London. That tragic story. I could have been American. Damn. So that's where the Aaronovitch comes from. Ironically, nobody else in his family kept the name except for my dad's parents. So there were lots. It's a very common name. It just means Aaron, son of Aaron, which is a very common Jewish Lithuanian name. And so there were lots and lots and lots of people called Aaronovitch who came over in the 1900s, you know. And most of them changed their name to Green and Jones and sometimes Aronson or just Aaron. But the only one, ironically, the only secular, totally secular set of Jews in the East End, being my grandparents, they didn't change their name. And so therefore me and my brother and the rest of my family are the only Aaronovitches in London, which makes us very easy to find in the phone book. Or at least it used to before when there was such things as phone books. Of course there isn't now. So very easy to find on the internet. Very easy for me to look at myself on the internet. So, occasionally, some poor police chief in Jerusalem, I get to see what he's up to as well. And someone once swore at me on Twitter thinking I was him, so he's obviously not a very popular guy. Once she swore at me in Hebrew, so I hadn't got the faintest idea what she was talking about. So yes, so that's where the name comes from. My mum comes from good Lancastrian stock. You know, sort of total empire, the Raj, that kind of sort of sets of people. Her father was a captain in the British Army in India, and she was actually born in Rawalpindi and came over and all that kind of stuff. And they had like 8 families, and it was. You look at the family tree; it's just ridiculous because her mother died of an insect bite in 1922. Which is, there you go. People forget this, and we're going to find out when the antibiotics go all off, what it's like to actually die of things like insect bites, which you can actually do when you don't have antibiotics. And her father remarried, and it all got very, very complicated. As a result, I had about 47 uncles, of which I only know 3, because most of them were dead by the time I was born. So this gives me a lot of insight into Peter Grant's family, because it's like the 37 uncles and the 58 aunts, and the people that just wandered into the family and never left. So that's where a lot of that comes from.
Did something in particular move you out of London into the countryside?
Yes, there's this long-standing rule about writing that if your character's getting too comfortable, you have to do something to them. And I decided to send him to Herefordshire. I sent him to Herefordshire because it's the most rural British English county that's not northern or in Cornwall. The reason for that is if you make it a northern, then you get into the whole north-south thing. And if you make it Cornwall, then you get into the whole Celtic thing. And so I wanted somewhere where, you know, there wasn't going to be any of that fuss. There was going to be just straight rural versus towny aggro, and that was why he went to Herefordshire. And I liked it because I liked Herefordshire. Herefordshire very nice, and also because Phil Rickman sets his books there.
Yes.
And I thought, I'm going to trample over your landscape. Rivalry. Basically, his agent turned me down. When I was looking for an agent, his agent turned me down and said, "We've already got a supernatural fantasy writer, thank you. His name's Phil Rickman." I'd never heard of him. So I read all his books going, "You bastard!" But I do like the books. But I do like he lives like in the middle of nowhere, next to Jasper Ford, actually. About 5 miles down the road from Phil Rickman is Jasper Ford in his boat plane. And they live in this like godforsaken bit of Wales where there's nothing but sheep and British expatriates, English expatriates living there. All the Welsh people avoid it. I think it's haunted by English people. Ironically, if you go to Herefordshire, there's loads of Welsh people living in Herefordshire, probably to escape all the English people who moved into Wales. This is my theory. This did not go down well in Herefordshire. And I enjoy doing it, but my God, is it hard work going off your patch. You know, you have to, and also Herefordshire, I chose it because it was ridiculously rural. And people don't realise how rural Herefordshire, you go in there and immediately the A roads turn into B roads, and the B roads turn into little lanes, and the lanes just disappear, sort of peter out into farmyards. And there's no motorways going into it, there's no, the railway you have to go through Newport, there's no direct trains or anything, so it's like, so you go there and it takes you like 4 hours to get there, which is like you can get to Newcastle in less time, and then you've got to like cab around, and there's no public transport worth talking about, and it's ridiculously photogenic, and like I put in the book, you expect Bilbo Baggins to pop up at any moment in a Nissan Micra. So yes, that's why I went to Herefordshire. How could I resist it?
Now, Hanging Tree's coming out on the 3rd of November,
Yep.
and we've waited a little while for it, so you kept us hanging for it, so I had to get that in. It ties in with what you're saying. That last one was set firmly in the country, so are we back in London and staying in London this time around?
Yes, we are firmly, apart from our quick sojourn in High Wycombe, we are firmly in London. This time we're in the west of London, we're in Mayfair. Well, if you know where Tyburn is, then you'll know where the next story is. The story after that is going to be much more east. It's going to be not quite this far over.
How far?
Yeah. Probably, I don't know yet. I'm quite. No. It's the city and Whitechapel. Probably, I don't know. Hackney has. I lived in Hackney, so it has this kind of draw. Hackney. Not many people say that, you know. I am drawn to Hackney. Although, my God, has Dalston got gentrified?
Yeah.
I didn't recognise it. You know, no one tried to kill me or anything. I love.
You have to be under 35 to live there.
There used to be pubs. There used to be pubs you could not go in. There used to be pubs like can't go in, and they're wine. Well, they're not wine bars because they don't do wine bars. They're kind of like gastro pubs. You sit there going, "Oh my God, it's like gastro." I'm just gonna move to, I don't know where I'm gonna move to, Belfast, I think, possibly for the ambiance. Yes, so possibly Hackney and around. I mean, I have to. I've been told very firmly to stay within the ambit of Stephen Walton's picture, because they don't want to have to shell out for another new map. So they're don't know if you know this, but the covers you see are taken from this massive picture called The Island, done by an artist by Stephen Walters. And I saw this. I went to see this in the British Library of all places, and I thought, oh, that's fantastic. The cover should be like. I went back. We need to make the cover a bit like this. They just bought the rights to the whole painting because apparently that was cheaper than getting someone to paint something new. And they just pick the bit. They go, "Where is it set this time?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know, Mayfair." And they just splodge name, and they go, "What's in it?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know, dog, trowel." And they go, "Dog, trowel." And instant cover. Everyone goes, "Oh, look at the covers, they're so pretty." It's like a freak. What the only trouble is, when you become successful, your publishers start getting this terrible urge to change your covers. They just do. They can't help it. It's like something you get over 6 books, and you sell bestsellers, and they want to change the covers. You must have seen this, especially in series. You have like a book, lovely cover, completely different cover on your shelf. And you go, it doesn't matter. If you're like me, that's very important. So they go, can we at least put like emboss it? I go, embossing is the first sign. I said, no to emboss. They sneakily emboss the paperback, the re-edition of the first paperback. I'm like, ooh, you embossed that without asking me. That's an embossed cover, that is. And I don't like embossing because I'm an ex-bookseller, and it's just annoying embossing because you feel it when you put you like your books nice and slim. We like slim books. We like mass market paperbacks that fit on lots and lots fit on the same shelf. Not these great big trade paperbacks that are really awkward size and shape and you can't get them in and you can't face them out because they take like the size of a small train. Sorry. Bookseller peeve there. Question.
Sierra Leone is where the hero of the story is. His family are from.
His mum's from there.
His mum's from there. Have you got a friend or someone who you've been able to crib?
Oh, you see, I grew up in Kentish Town, and not fact, I went to the school that I sent my character to, just to save time and effort on research. And I grew up surrounded by families, Sierra Leonean and Nigerian families. That's why I can write them with confidence. See, every single one of those rivers, I knew them. I knew all those women. They're really familiar to me. I used to go around and have tea at their house, and they used to come around to mine. So I watched them. I watched the whole thing about, you must be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer. These are the 3 training options for a young African boy, and the whole family dynamic and everything. So when I came to write Peter, I knew I could write that with confidence because. And I know Sierra Leone, so when I want to do Creole, for example, I occasionally put a bit of Creole, and you probably noticed. I just go and get my friends to translate it into Creole, and then I get them to record it for Cobner, because of course he can't speak Creole. Which is, all the more reason to put it in the book. And it's like I have to send it to. I send him a little tape with, I'm not even going to attempt to do the Creole. I can understand it a bit, but I don't speak it. And I just sound like I'm doing a very racist accent. It's one of those things because you use terms that are actually in the wrong mouth. Sound incredibly racist, like pick me and things like that, which sound incredibly racist. Or just going like repeating things like plenty, plenty, and it sounds like you're taking the piss. It's like when you do a fake French accent. In order to speak French well, you have to do a kind of practically a Clouseau accent, and this is one of the reasons why the English can't speak French very easily. Because we're too polite. So we go to Paris and we try and speak French, excusez-moi, like that, because we don't want to go, excusez-moi, I would like. So we don't want to do that because we sound like we're taking the piss. Je voudrais. Like, we don't want to do that. It's the same with German. You go to German, because I'm learning German because they're my biggest foreign market. So I thought, French, German, they're the ones that are paying me more. So I'm on Duolingo, I'm on German. You have to do the same thing. It's like, yeah! And I can't remember, it goes completely out of my head too. You go anywhere and you're learning a language and it goes completely out of your head as soon as you come to speak it. It's all there right up until you open your mouth. I wish there were secrets of my success, because I would have done it like 20 years ago if I had known how to do it. Was that easy. There are no secrets to success. You write what you like, and then hopefully other people like it. That's the best you can do. You can't. There are people who say, "Oh, you must research your market." I absolutely guarantee, if you aim for the zeitgeist, by the time you've written your novel, you will have missed the zeitgeist. It is gone. And since no one knows what the next zeitgeist is going to be, because it's a moving target, there's no point in trying to work out what's going to be popular next. So you just write what you like. Write what you have to write well. And I recommend a book called How Not to Write a Novel by Howard Michelmark and somebody else. And basically it goes through all the things that will guarantee you won't get published. All the various things, if you put in your book, you won't. My favourite being, "Oh, Mrs. Pretty Paws, you know me so well," which is like, why you don't put cute cats into your, that know everything you're talking about into your, "Oh, Mrs. Pretty Paws, you know me so," you just don't. And my favourite one is, our advice to you is, if you put a dream sequence, cut out all the dream sequences but one, and then cut that one out as well. and useful kind of advice like that, you see. So it's full of kind of very useful things like that. So I recommend that for just kind of style. But in the end, in content, you should write about something you want to write about. I mean, I always started on the basis of like, they're not writing books I want to read. I will go and buy, I run out of books that I want to read. So this is the whole basis of fan fiction, essentially. See, except that if you make it your original work, then you don't end up on a sad little bit of the internet somewhere. You get to get money, which is very important. You see, once you're a professional writer, you can't write for free anymore. You stop. It's like you resent things like letters. You sit under the WordPress. I had to write a letter to my son's going to university. I'm trying to get him accommodation. I had to write a letter. And I really resented writing the letter. I'm going, "Do you know I get paid for this? This is time is money. Words are money. No, I don't want to write you a letter. You should just bow down. Give him a room. For God's sake, get rid of him. Work to do." Another question. Come on.
You're very descriptive. Did you start off writing books, or did you start off writing something else?
Well, my career started with scripts. And it was a spectacular failure, my career. I wrote 3 professional scripts before they never asked me back into the BBC ever again. I don't know what I did, but I did something wrong and they never let me back. I've always been quite descriptive. It's you have your own style. When you write, you will find your own style, and my style is very descriptive. Other people are very terse. I mean, I've never seen a sentence I wouldn't want to put 6 or 7 subordinate clauses into, and against the advice, which is always write very short, simple sentences. You will find your own style. If you write, you will find your own style. You have to find your own style. You cannot write someone else's. There are some good things, like just don't put adjectives in if you can help it. Don't use anything except said or asked. Except once every and don't put an adjective on that. I can't remember. There's a term for that, but I don't know what it is. So people should be able to tell what your character's tone is from the dialogue and from the actions that surround the dialogue. Every so often, and then when you do say something like, "He shouted screamily" or something, I don't know, it has more impact. But if every piece of dialogue goes, said quickly, said slowly, said fast, and you only have to read Victorian novels where people are ejaculating all over the place. He ejaculated, Good God, he ejaculated. You read that, it just spoils the whole pleasure. Conjures up completely the wrong mental images. I remember that in King Solomon's King Solomon's Mines, and it starts with "Good God, he ejaculated," and it's like, I'm sorry, I can't cope with it beyond that point, really. That was really it. So I don't care if it was a classic. And this was a period when I would read anything, by the way. I was 12, and I used to read about 2 books a day, and I literally had no taste. I was just I used to a library like this, and I used to go to I worked my way through the children's section, and I worked my way through the science fiction section of the adults, and that was it. It's like, no, there are no more science. I was like Ozymandias. For Aaronovitch wept, for there were no more science fiction books to read. You might have to read literature or something.
What is the first book you remember reading, and who's your favourite author now?
Okay. The first book I remember reading was some dreadful Crystal Griffin thing that you got, and you had like the bronze griffin and the silver griffin and the gold griffin, and I remember nothing about it. The first book I actually remember anything about was The Last Planet, or Star Rangers was the other title, by a woman called Andre Norton, obviously writing under a pseudonym, and she, her real name was Mary Norton, but not the one that wrote the Borough. I made that mistake for about 30 years. They're actually two different women, although they have very similar styles. And that was my first science fiction book, and that really was like my downfall, because after that it was just like science fiction, for me. My favourite author now is still Pratchett, I'm afraid. You know, I think you probably will be until I'm dead. You know, someone might come along, but I still think it's still Pratchett. I mean, you know, overall, there's plenty of other authors I love to read, and I love to listen to, but I have to say, you know, when I think, oh, wouldn't it be great to be Pratchett, apart from the Alzheimer's bit, which I don't want. So you get to a certain age, you start, if people like younger than you are dying on the news, and you're like, oh, fuck. Never happened. I had a... I just really hate that. I hate the whole thing when I went into the hospital. I'm in hospital for sleep apnea, and I go in at St. Bart's, right? And all the registrars are like 12, and they're all type tall, skinny hipster guys with kind of a standing with that funny weird curved back that hipsters do, and sitting there. They're 12. They're 12. I'm being treated by 12-year-olds. Took time off to have babies, came back, they discovered DNA. I mean, that's what can happen to you if you're doing these fields. You could she came back, the entire order of biology had been overthrown overnight while she was off having a kid. You know, and she came back, she was like, I'm not doing that anymore. No more biology for me. So you have to be careful. That's the great thing about writing, of course. It doesn't go out of date. The delivery system may change, but the actual product doesn't. You still have to write, people still have to read it, even if they're doing, you know, projected directly onto the eyeball or whatever's coming next. That would be great. People walk down the street going, no!
You'll probably inject it into it.
Yes, I'm totally down with that. I don't care, as long as it costs $7.99 recommended retail price. I'm good with injections. As long as I don't have to take them, I'm good. You guys, oh, that was quite a good book. I do like the end though. You imagine that you're stuck with it, literally. Oh God, no, I can't unread that. It's like the terrible thing, you can't unsee a film, a really bad film. You can't really did not need to see that. 9.5 weeks, that was mine. Why did I see that film? There's so much of that film.
It's the money throwing bit.
I hate that film. Caligula wasn't much better, I have to say. They were out about the same week, 2 weeks apart, by the way. I went through this phase where I was working in a wine bar, and I was 17, 18, and I was working in a wine bar, and I worked during the day, and then this is back in the way old days when bars closed between lunchtime and opening up again. They don't do that anymore. And I explained things to my children. They look at me like, "What's early closing day? What's Sunday, Daddy?" And so there was I was too fagged to go home, and there was a cinema which was the Hampstead Classic, which doesn't exist anymore. So I just used to go and see whatever was on at the Hampstead Classic. In this case, it was 9.5 weeks and Caligula 2 weeks running, and some terrible films like Yellowbeard. I don't know if anyone remembers Yellowbeard. No, very very bad film. Anyway, enough about that. Another question relating to actual books and interests and things that people will be...
How many more Peter Grant books are you planning? Or are you thinking of doing something completely off planet and doing a Dune-like sort of galaxy civilization?
Yes to both.
Lots, please.
Yes. I have a standard. This is the only question I ever always get asked. It has to be said. It's the only, no, it's a good question, but it means I have a very standard answer for it, I'm afraid. So, basically, I plan to keep writing the Peter Grant books until one of the three conditions happens, right? One, either I run out of ideas. 2, people stop buying them, in which case there's no point writing them, and 3, I can afford a yacht. And I don't mean...
That is a worthy cause.
I don't mean like a little 30-foot ketch. No, I mean a fuck-off Russian oligarch,
Yeah.
James Bond villain
Yeah.
yacht with helicopter pads staffed by former Somali pirates, you know, in trim uniforms. And that is the other one. And apparently at that point I'll have to keep writing because buying the yacht is the cheapest bit.
That's it.
Running the yacht is hugely expensive. I did see that. Did anyone see the what's his name's yacht pulled up against HMS Belfast? It was ugly. It was designed by the same person who thought, you know, I don't know, architecture. It was designed by an architect. That's all I'm going to say. Modernist architects, because it was just like it looked like it had been squished. It looked like it'd been like someone had taken a proper yacht and just gone like that, so it'd gone bonk like that, and I thought it would fall over. I was hoping like there'd be like some storm and it would just blow over. Or like, you know, can you imagine that at night Belfast is a bit restless and just rolls over? Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. You're a bit crushed because I weigh about 40,000 tons.
Has he answered your question?
The other
I'm
one.
not sure about June and the civilization.
The other one, yes, I got to write something with spaceships and ray guns in, or I will go completely mad. I need to. I've got an idea for a secondary world fantasy, and an idea for a space opera thing, and it's really a question of finding some time to write it. See, because you can see I'm not the fastest writer, and my publisher goes.
It's not Game of Thrones, so you're all right, really.
We're
You're not
terribly
that
excited by this idea you had. When's the next Peter Grant book coming out? That's basically my life. It's so terrible. I weep myself to sleep every night. No, I don't. Another question.
Cars seem to play quite a big part in the books, or like the detailed description of various motor vehicles.
No, not for me. I get
No,
that
they
all
don't for me either. I should notice and think.
I get that all from Top Gear, but Peter, you know,
now.
Peter. Well, you know, there's still plenty of old stuff on the internet. It's Peter is a petrol head, so he's interested in cars. I'm not. He's much more interested in architecture than I am as well. So he has interests that I don't have. So once you have to give your, you know, otherwise he's just you. Right? So he's not me, and so therefore I gave him characteristics. I mean, he's for the kind of person he is, it would be inconceivable that he wouldn't like cars, really. So he's that kind of guy that would like cars. So he likes cars. So I had to learn about cars. So I had to keep reminding not just to write a car.
I think that's it. In real life,
Because people like that don't. You see, someone like Peter doesn't look at a car. He doesn't just go, "It's a car." He goes, you know, it's a 4-wheel drive Toyota something.
What characteristics of yours does he share then?
I suppose the humour, that's unavoidable. Not very many. I mean, one of the advantages of the fact that I came to writing Peter Grant quite late in my career was I kind of worked through that phase where every character is you. I was so bored of me that you kind of like delight in having a character who's not you. So I actually like Peter for all the reasons that, you know, he's not me. I mean, I suppose we're both slightly scatterbrained, but he's slightly smarter than I am, I would say. And he's certainly faster. But he's 25. I keep having to remember what it's like when you just go, I shall run down that road. Nah. You know, like now I go, oh, road. Has anyone got a mobility vehicle? You know, so I have to keep trying to remember what it's like that Peter doesn't, you know, he sees the flight of steps and he doesn't go, oh, God, steps. Like I come up Dagenham Heathway and I saw that ramp and I was like, oh, you're kidding me, right? See, when I go places with my son, I get him to push me up things like that. Just stand by me, push me up. Just need a little boost. It's embarrassing. So it'd be embarrassing if I had roller skates. It's just slightly embarrassing now, I admit. So yeah, so he is different, and you know, and he's grown apart from me as well. In that he keeps coming up with things that he likes, and I have to research. And it's very annoying. And now he, of course, without too many spoilers, his current relationship means I have to learn about things like hydraulics and environmental science and things like that. So it's like, oh God, can't any of you people be writers or something? I know something about it. So luckily no one's a librarian yet, so I'm okay. That's only a matter of time, I think, until the librarians creep into the books. Unless you count Post Martin, I suppose. Another question?
Who's your most difficult character for you?
Reynolds. Reynolds has always been the FBI agent. FBI agent. I found the Americans very, very hard. I keep writing them in and then writing them out again. You can't ignore them, but they just. I don't. The trouble with Americans is, if you write them realistically, they come across as bad caricatures. They're like, but especially if they're kind of religious, they come across as bad. They really. I've sat there with Americans and they've talked like, and I've written the dialogue down and I put it in the mouth of someone and it sounds like I'm taking the piss. And it's just that. And they won't do what I want them to do. Well, none of my characters do what I want them to do as a regular matter of fact, but the Americans are particularly annoying that way. So there are actually some more Americans in this one, but Reynolds was the most difficult character. I had high hopes for her, and I started to warm up towards the end of the book, but she was a pain. She fought me the whole way through writing of Whispers Underground. It wasn't until they were doing the three-man underground sewer luge team suddenly that she sort of really came alive. And at that point, I think when she bonded with Peter and Jagged, then I think that was the thing. Nightingale is a doddle to write, in case you're wondering. Nightingale is a delight. Peter and Nightingale are the two easiest characters to write. Not writing them is my main problem. Like, when I was writing that letter to the landlord, I had to kind of be Nightingale rather than Peter. Give him a room, yeah. Bastard. I would like you, if you could, like mine. Provide my son with some accommodation. So, I thought I think I'm taking the piss. All right. So those are the easiest characters. Reynolds is the hardest. Everyone else. Toby is annoying because I wrote this book and I have a friend called James Swallow. He's got a book out called No Man. Now, I don't know if any of you have read any of his books. It's a very hardcore techno thriller. And he writes Warhammer books. I don't know what that means, right? But basically, and Star Trek books. And so he's my other reader. And I give him my book to read. And his big note is, there's not enough Toby. And I thought, what? You're supposed to tell me the guns were all wrong, or the cars were I don't think there were enough fight sequences in it. But no, you're not enough Toby. I feel betrayed. So Toby gets short shrift in the next book, I'm afraid. Although he does get a slight comatose from eating too many cakes at one point. However, there is an entire novella, which is pretty much 90% Toby at one point, so there will be more Toby. I apologise for the lack of Toby. There's a lot of Toby in the comics because my friend Andrew Cartmel, who co-writes them with me, loves Toby. Puts him into it, and so does the illustrator. The illustrator loves Toby, so they conspire against me to slip him into every story. Wouldn't it be great if Toby just ran in at this point? Just have him random at random intervals, lick someone's face, run out again. It's 5 panels, yeah? Okay, right. They'll love him as a dog. People love dogs. And it's true, people love dogs. What can I say? Another question.
When you're writing, do you have any sort of habits or things you do while you're writing, like maxing out on Diet Coke or eating chewing gum?
I have basically a framework of habits that sort of is carefully built up around my writing. Say I have some habits would be like a laughable understatement. I have like an entire network of habits. I get up very early in the morning. I don't like to write anywhere except in my room. I drink about 1 cup of coffee per hour. I try and spend at least 20 minutes writing before I look at the internet. Sometimes I even do that. I have a timer that goes off. 20 minutes. Sometimes, when I'm productive, I can write for whole minutes at a stretch. I don't like being interrupted. I mean, yeah, I've got lots, but nothing kind of exciting. I don't, stand on one leg, teeth out on my head, facing spring. Oh, spring! Something like that, Although I might try that actually. That might work. About January, I think I might need that. When I'm hitting the middle point's always the bit. You get to the middle and you think, oh God, it's only the middle. Feels like freaking forever. And I write short books, This is what I understand. I've got friends that write like 200,000 word things, and I think, how the fuck do you do that? I mean, I'm like 30,000 words in, and I'm going, God, this is hard work. That's their opening chapter. George R.R. Martin calls that a novella. Goes, oh no, I just wrote that as a quick thing to knock out on the internet. Well, keep people happy while they're waiting for, the winds of winter. Or parts 8 and 9 of the winds of winter. I'm really looking forward to that book. I like big books. I cannot lie. The other brothers may deny. I've actually written that song, by the way. I couldn't resist. I just said that. I like big books. I cannot lie. The other brothers may deny. Like a big plot gets in your face. I just like it. I like Peter Hamilton. Has anyone read any Peter Hamilton? Peter Hamilton writes books that thick, and that's like this. That's one of trilogy. I mean, they are just ridiculous books, and I love them. Because it's like good value for money. That's when you're young. You see, that's why these books are so popular.
You can't hold them.
Well, that's you see.
They get difficult to hold.
When I was younger, I could stand on a bus with a Peter Hamilton like that. I had that much hand grip. Like on the one, and you could use them as a weapon if you were attacking, or a shield at least. Very useful.
Yeah, the trouble is with big books, though, the pages fall out.
Yeah.
Mine don't.
Spine breaks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, they do if you do that.
Well, it's a library book. It's a library book.
Oh well, yes, if more than one person uses them. But that's all right. I always used to get them out of the library. Well, I like the library because you get big books in libraries, because proper hardbacks, and that's always a nice thing to have, is a proper hardback. I like a proper hardback. Not in my books that I had though. My books that I had, no to hardbacks. All books should be mass market paperbacks that size with very, very small writing. That's what I like. Mandatory fall on the shelf. Yes.
Where did the young female rivers come from?
What do you mean, like in?
Well, not the one at Thames has walked into the Thames and.
I'm not going to tell you. It's in fact, to quote a singer from the 1980s, a mystery.
Okay, do I get another replacement question?
Yes.
You have tantalising hints about other countries having their own versions of the folly.
Yes.
Have you fleshed some of these out in your mind?
Yes and no. The trouble is, you see, I know Britain very well, so it's very easy for me to write the folly of Britain. The moment you go somewhere else, you're talking about thousands of years of history and thousands of years of different culture, so it becomes much harder. But I have been fleshing out recently the Germans, so I've sort of fleshed out the Americans and I've sort of fleshed out the Germans a bit, to a certain extent, not enough that I can maybe introduce a German character. I have a German character ready. I don't know what he's for. I often end up with characters and I don't know what they're for. And so, this is fun. He's sitting by the side going, when am I going to be in the book? I'm not going to be in this book. I'm not in this book. You developed me last year. I waited. I waited patiently because there was no book. I was in a hanging tree and I was not in it. Then you tell me I'm not in the next one. This is disappointing. But he might turn up in book 8. I don't know. You ask me how many books I'm writing. I've still got characters queuing up in the green room. That's not even counting the Swedish characters I've got. I haven't got a Swedish Guru of the Folly, but I have got a Swedish story which I would like to tell. Entirely because I want to take the piss out of Scandi noir books. I want a detective. I want Peter to be teamed up with detectives so depressed that they can't get up in the morning. So like he's in a car and it's like, oh, life is terrible. It is full of woe. It's going, God, kill me.
Yeah, but you could have living fjords, couldn't you? And sort of immortal Viking.
If you, when I came up the idea when I flew, I went to Sweden. Very nice, especially somebody else is paying. Very expensive otherwise. And you fly into Stockholm, and you fly over Sweden, and you look down this forest, lake, and you realise that like all the cities and towns are tiny little pinpricks in what is essentially this vast forest studded with the occasional lake. And that's when I realised that's what the story was going. You know, lakes and forests, things that live in the forest and things that live in lakes. So that's what it's going to be. Apart from that, I have no idea what it's about, except that, you know, I'm going to have a very actually, I was thinking of going the other way. I was thinking of having a very matronly, middle-aged police officer who's very cheerful, has 3 kids, and keeps making inappropriate sexual remarks to her, just to kind of break her. Although she might wear a nice jumper. I thought I might have a sort of the anti what's her name, you know. Yeah, I love my job. Yes, it's great. They speak beautiful English, it's great. They get all your jokes and everything, although they're too polite not to laugh. One of the two, I couldn't work it out. I think they were laughing, it's hard to tell. And they love coffee. They have this thing called fika, and it is sacred in Sweden. It is sacred, the fika. When it is time for the fika, which is the coffee break, everything stops. It is beautiful. It's like returning to the 50s in Britain. It's great, everything stops. Roadworks, traffic, policing, you know. And they have a book, and what they have is tradition of the 7 types of cake. You have 7 types of cake that you serve with your fika. And you know, you've got to love a country with 7 types of cake and fika. I'm sorry, I wouldn't move there because of course it's forest and lakes, and I get a nosebleed when the population density falls below about 6,000 per square kilometre, or I leave zone 2 in that for that matter. But you think you're in the city. I come out to Dagenham. Oh, it's the countryside. There's flatness. No, take me home. I can't help myself that way. Another question. Was there a question of you? Was that? Oh, that's hands.
Will you write any books based on any other characters in this universe, and leaving maybe Peter to one side?
I have tempted that. The trouble is people like the voice. See, whenever I mean, I've experimented a couple of times. If you go on my website, you'll see me writing in other people's voices in order to just get a feel for it. I think the Swedish book might be 1/3 Nightingale. Might be written from Nightingale's point of view. In 1943, it'll be young Nightingale, well, older Nightingale. It's very hard to say which Nightingale that is. Pre-real young Nightingale. Transition Nightingale. I don't know, 40-year-old, right? And that would be that, and I might be, so it would be split between his perspective in 1943 and then Peter's perspective in the present day. I only did that because I knew if I left Nightingale out of the book like I did with Foxglove Summer, people would kill me. So I have to find some way of shoehorning Nightingale into this story. Otherwise there will be complaints. We're called What Abigail Did During Her Summer Holidays. That might still happen, but I can't do modern London slang. It's really embarrassing. I just about can do bare sick, and if I keep a dictionary by my side, I can fake it for like 3 lines. I can sustain kind of like a whole book from her point of view. So I might do that from a 3rd person. I might do books from a from the 3rd person perspective, rather than as a narrative. Or I might cheat really badly, and you have Peter narrate it as he heard it. So that's like the best of both worlds, right? Because he does that a lot. If you read the books, I get bored of people talking in my books, and I get on with the story. So I then elide into description. Peter's kind of paraphrasing of what people have said, and it's always written in kind of Peter's way, like little Peter, and you can get away with that. So I might try that, but I think I'd try it in a short story before I try it on a novel, because as you've noticed, I'm quite slow with novels. They take a long time. Well, the novels don't take a long time. The procrastination in between the writing takes a bit of time, and the not writing the novel actually takes longer than the novel, has to be said.
I've got a challenge for you, Ben. I've
Okay.
got some quick fire questions, but you've got to keep your answers short and preferably one word.
All right.
Right. So should we have a go?
Shoot.
See if we can do it. Right. Okay then. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Both.
Okay. PC or Mac?
PC.
Handwritten or print?
Print.
Favourite Doctor? As in who?
Well, I have to say Sylvester because he was mine.
Gold or silver?
Gold or silver.
Night or day?
Day.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Books or movies?
Books.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Call or text?
What?
Call or text?
Corn or text?
Cool.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
Picnic or nice restaurant?
What?
Picnic or nice restaurant?
Nice restaurant.
Nice restaurant.
You've never had a picnic.
I think I had my last picnic.
It's always in restaurants. You're hesitating.
I know, actually, what I was thinking, what I really like is a cafe in a park.
Yeah.
Thus combining two at the same time without actually having, wasps biting me while I'm there.
Mortgage or rent?
Oh, mortgage.
Personal chef or personal trainer?
Personal trainer, I've got one.
Laptop or desktop?
Desktop.
Wash dishes or do the laundry?
Which one do I prefer to do, or
Yeah.
which one can I persuade my son to do? Wash dishes, because I can get my son to do the laundry now, but I can't get him to wash the dishes properly.
Money or fame?
Money, because you can buy fame.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
I deny the distinction.
Okay. Fruit or vegetables?
Fruit.
Wine or beer?
Neither.
Board games or video games?
Video games. Only because I hate people.
Alright. Town or country? I think I know this
A
one.
town.
Comedy or mystery?
Oh, can I have a comedy mystery?
No. Okay. Jazz or classical?
Classical.
Tattoos or piercings?
Tattoos.
Antique or new?
Depends on what we're talking about. I mean, antique furniture, yes.
Okay.
Antique cars, no.
Okay. Pet hate?
Pet hate. I hate the pettiness that you can come across. That's what I hate. I hate that kind of nasty little narrow-minded, lazy pettiness that you can come across. Where people won't lift a finger, won't. Because actually most people will. Most people will help you. Most people will go out their way to be pleasant. But every so often you'll run into someone in a position of authority, usually minor authority, and you get that kind of pettiness, and I hate that. That's my pet hate.
Alright. Weapon of choice?
Weapon of choice. Drone.
Okay. Bond or born?
Bond or born? Bond.
Selling books or writing them?
Writing them every day.
Your first ever memory?
I think it's my father fitting what now looks like an incredibly dangerous electric bar heater to the ceiling in what was to be my bedroom.
Right.
No, it was a circular. It went round the light fitting, and I think of it. And he turned it on, and now I think of it. That was just like death waking up. I think my parents were trying to kill me at quite a young age.
Last meal?
Last meal, I had cake. You served it.
Okay. Football or cricket?
Neither.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What was your last dream about?
I dreamt I was late handing in my book.
I won't let you on.
Well, the funny thing was I'd handed in the book. That's what I found hilarious about. So I kind of had that kind of moment in your dream where you're having a dream and you go, ha! I've done this! I can't be dreaming about this. I've done it! Ha! So it kind of lost a lot of its pain.
Okay. CD or records?
MP3s.
Okay. The last film you watched at the cinema?
Oh God, went with no, it wasn't Zootopia. It was something else. God, it was Suicide Squad.
And what's your ideal day?
My ideal day. I wake up in the morning. I roll out of bed. No one disturbs me all day, and I get tons of writing done.
Brilliant.
And drink lots of coffee.
Brilliant. I think that takes us to 8 o'clock.
Well, thank you very much. You've been
And I'd like to. Yep. Thank you.
I will be doing a signing, although I admit, because the book doesn't come out until next month, some of you might not need anything signed. But if you do, or you just want me to randomly sign pieces of paper, other people's books, I'm really not